Hey guys, in today's video, I wanted to go over what I believe to be the best items to go for as the Destruction Warlock in ToGC. These will be the first items I'll prio when starting to gear in Phase 3 for my personal Destruction Warlock, and for anyone who does a wish list or just looking for a list of the strongest items in the phase. This isn't set in stone or anything, but rather just a list based on the biggest gains in terms of stats and DPS. This is also coming from being Phase 2 bis, which I know not a lot of us are, but figured it'd be a good starting point. If you're lacking in one of these slots, then just know that you would probably prio that slot and trade for one of these items I'm listing in the video. I'll use 80s upgrades for the ease of seeing the stat gains over Phase 2, and the links to these will be in the description, as well as I'll link to Phase 3 bis video on screen right now and in the description as well. Before we begin, I just want to give a huge shout out to the Warlock Discord, your one-stop shop for everything and anything Warlock related. Also, please hit the follow button and a thumbs up. And lastly, I stream over on Twitch at twitch.tv/CrixVibes, where I rate on 3 different Warlocks, one of each spec, as well as a ton of the hardcore challenge. Let's get started. Okay, so some of these items are highly contested by other casters, which is why they're on the list. There are a couple Phase 3 bis items, however, that are not highly contested, but they're extremely strong, using the bracers as an example. This is a decent upgrade that I'd normally put on the list. However, only Destruction Warlocks and Fire Mages want this. Therefore, I would prio it, but I wouldn't prio it first. As for the tier 9 set, it's very hard to work this into priority because it's very good for destruction. Not just for the 4 set bonus, which buffs your immolate damage by 10%, which also in turn buffs your conflag damage, but the 2 set is excellent because the more your imp crits, the more that you crit. But also the stats on most of the tier 9 sets are actually very good for you. The problem is, it might not matter if you prio it because it depends largely on your guild and how they're handing out the tier. I will list some of this on the list, however, for those that do have some control over tier 9 prio or are just curious which of the 4 are the best. 4 set itself is so good, in fact, that even using the 4 piece of the lower 245 gear is 100% worth it until you get your hands on some juicy Regalia 258 gear from the tribute chest. A side note about gearing in Phase 3, while we won't have any hit problems in the long run, as there's tons of gear in this phase with hit on it, you may find your hit bouncing around a lot while you're gearing or waiting for your full Phase 3 bis. If you find yourself getting a strong upgrade in Phase 3, but it causes you to lose some hit that was on your Phase 2 piece, you can make up the hit with some Phase 2 gear like Frozen Loop, Shimmering Seal, Sash of Ancient Power, and Pulsars. These would be worth to swap on to make up the hit if you get one of those big pieces that we're listing. So if you find these in the raid and nobody wants them right now, it could be smart to swoop them up and toss them into the bank. You never know if you could use them on a rainy day. For the first item, as mentioned above, the tier 9 4 set is important. I wasn't sure how to rank them in terms of prio, so I just wanted to touch on the chest being extremely strong, and if you can prio it, you should. You gain 28 spell power, 94 spirit, 29 stam, 35 intellect, and 16 hit over the Phase 2 bis, which is actually pretty nutty. Shoulders are also really nice because you gain 76 crit on top of 10 spell power and 20 spirit, some stam and int, but you lose a socket. Gloves feel the worst out of the bunch as you lose a socket and 85 haste, but you do gain 19 spell power and 68 hit, so it could be worth if you need the hit. Meanwhile, the helm is my favorite second pick. With 2 spell power, 6 spirit, 15 crit, plus the socket bonus brings an additional 9 spell power, so you actually get 11 spell power total. That's why I like it. Okay, so for the next item, you want Cloak. Athea's Intensity if you're Horde, or Jaina's Radiance if you're Alliance. This is an amazing cloak that brings 19 spell power, 65 crit, and 13 haste better than your Phase 2 cloak. The cloak is also the most contested item amongst the casters, making the most important to prioritize in my opinion. Not only that, but this cloak is only slightly behind the Phase 4 ICC bis cloak Frostbinder's Shredded Cape. Meaning, once you get this, you really don't need to worry about another cloak for quite some time. All of this combined, I'm going for the cloak pretty much right away, and I suggest you do as well. The next item to go for is the Trinket, Reign of the Dead or Unliving for Alliance. This is actually the highest DPS increase you can get out of Phase 3, as you gain the static 36 spell power, but also the huge damage proc. The only reason I don't list it first is because the tier 9 chest and the cloak are more contested as everybody wants it, whereas not every caster wants this Trinket, no matter the fact you want this as fast as possible. The next item I'd say to prio is the Soothing Touch legs. These are a massive upgrade that thankfully isn't too contested. You gain 11 spell power, 42 spirit, 19 haste, 25 stamina, and 25 intellect plus a socket. Huge. You'll be wanting to get these as fast as you can due to the sheer amount of power they have. And then the last set of items I'd go for is one of the weapons. I say one of them because, well, which one you use depends on your current hit situation, and more importantly, which one your raid gives you. No matter the choice, they're both amazing weapons and you should be happy with either of them. With the Terraskew dagger, you gain 27 spell power, 57 haste, and 7 hit over Starshard's Edge. With the sword, Blade of the Unbroken Covenant for Alliance or Mortalis for the Horde, you gain 36 spell power, 39 haste, and 58 crit, while losing 44 hit. If you get the sword, please note that you'll be losing some hit, but you can also make that up with any of the strong Phase 2 bis items I mentioned a few minutes ago. If you get the dagger, it allows you to not only keep the hit from Star Sard's edge, but you gain 7 more, allowing you to substitute hit in another slot if possible. Well, that's it for this one. I just wanted to give you a quick input on which items I think are the most important to aim for in Phase 3 as Destro. I hope this helps you prepare for ToGC. If you wouldn't mind hitting the thumbs up on the way out and following the channel, I'd greatly appreciate it. Feel free to stop by the stream if you have any questions or just leave them in the comments below. See you on the next one.